Today, I'm going to tell you my favorite classic books that I've given 5 stars, and these are some great books to get you started into the classics genre and that are really great if you just want to read a beautiful classic story. I love this book so much. The Little White Horse is such a beautiful story. Honestly, I think this is a great book for everybody. I think everyone should be able to read this at some point in their lifetime. It is just so charming. It has very much like the fairy tale vibes that you would expect from a cute little middle grade children's story. Some great lessons, and I just loved following our main girl Maria Merriweather and everything that she's going through in this story. Very beautifully written by Elizabeth Googe, who is a English author, and she wrote many other stories and children's stories, but this one is so good and I don't hear enough people talking about this. Basically, Maria Merriweather is our main character. I'll read the synopsis for you so you can kind of see what the book is about. When orphan young Maria Merriweather arrives at Moonacre Manor, she feels as if she's entered paradise. Her new guardian, her uncle Sir Benjamin, is kind and funny. The manor itself feels like home right away, and every person and animal she meets is like an old friend. But there is something incredibly sad beneath all of this beauty and comfort. A tragedy that happened years ago, shadowing Moonacre Manor and the town around it, and Maria is determined to learn about it, change it, and give her own life story a happy ending. But what can one solitary girl do? So that is kind of the premise of The Little White Horse, and if that didn't convince you to read it, I don't know what will, because it's just such a beautiful treasure of a book. If you are just a lover of cottagecore or slow living, I think you would love the Anne of Green Gables books. I loved following our main character, Anne. She is just so wide-eyed and full of life. I think we can just learn a lot from our character, Anne. It is basically about Anne, and she's an orphan, and she goes to live with these brother and sister, and she basically turns her life upside down in the best possible way. It's such a beautiful story and everything that she learns along the way. It's a very episodic type of book. Each chapter kind of follows something different, and by the end of the book, it is so beautiful, so full circle, and I love the outcome. So I will read the synopsis. When a scrawny, freckled girl with bright red hair arrives on Prince Edward Island, Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert are taken by surprise. They'd asked for a quiet boy to help with the farm work at Green Gables, but how can you return a friendless little girl to a grim orphanage when she tells you her life so far has been a perfect graveyard of buried hopes? When she longs so dearly to belong, and so the beguiling chatterbox stays, full of dreams, warmth, and spirit. It is not long before Anne Shirley wins their hearts. And that's honestly a beautiful depiction of what this story is, and there's a whole series. So that leads me into the next book. This is a beautiful cover. I love this. So we have Anne of the Island, as you saw. This is the 3rd installment of the Anne of Green Gables series, and I loved this one. I read this one last year, I believe in September, and I had such a fun time. It's just so wholesome. I love getting to follow Anne. Now she is in college. I can at least say that for this book, but yes, she does go into college in this one, and we're kind of following her and what her friends get up to and kind of that whole lifestyle where it was like 1910 on, I believe. But I just love this. There's so much that goes on. It's a beautiful book. Yeah, I love this one. Her relationships and her friendships in this one, you can really see her grow in this one, and her character just kind of blossoms. And I think this is such a good one to read during the fall, and it's very much giving like a fall vibe. But yes, I definitely recommend the whole Anne series. Read them all in order, because they're just so beautiful. These are some great classics that I think everyone should read, and everyone should be able to experience Anne and her world and just how she thinks, and very much just has this wide eye kind of innocence about everything, and she's just very much a character that you can look up to through everything that she learns, because she has faults, but she's just a really good character in literature. If you love gardening, or if you are just a fan of beautiful middle grade stories, I think you would really love Mandy. This is by Julie Andrews Edwards. Yes, the very one that we all know and love, and she wrote this book with her daughter. This is about an orphan, another orphan story, but this is just such a cozy, very much like childhood wonder, and just very, very beautiful. I was on the edge of my seat when I read this towards the last 30% because it was just so fun. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. It got very exciting, very intense, but in a very good way. It wrapped up really beautifully. And I'm gonna read the synopsis so you can kind of understand what it's about. Mandy, a 10-year-old orphan, dreams of a place to call her own, escaping over the orphanage wall to explore the outside world. Mandy discovers a tiny deserted cottage in the woods. All through the spring, summer, and fall, Mandy works to make it truly hers. Sometimes she borrows things she needs from the orphanage, sometimes to guard her secret. She even lies. Then one stormy night at the cottage, Mandy gets sick, and no one knows how to find her, except a special friend she didn't know she had. It's so good. It really is. I have not talked about this one yet on my channel because I read this, I think, 2 years ago. If you love gardening, if you are just into a middle grade beautiful story, I think this would be great. Also to read aloud. All these books would be beautiful to read aloud to your children or just to anybody really. The cover is so precious, and this is honestly a cozy book that you can just curl up and read on a cozy little day. I love when I read a classic book and it just feels very comforting, and it really gets me into the story and really engaged into the story. I think that's what I love about reading classics, because sometimes they do that and you wouldn't expect it from a classic book, but this one has that. It kept my attention, and I think it's a really good one to start out with. I have to recommend Pride and Prejudice, because if you have not read it, then you should read it, because it is such a good book written by Jane Austen. It was written in the Regency times, and it's so funny and so witty, and the writing is just so ahead of its time, I feel. I think it was very more literary back in the Regency era in the 1800s, but it was still very understandable. I still could understand and grasp a lot of the things in this book, and I think that is so good because that's what made it enjoyable. Basically, we're following our main character, Elizabeth Bennet, and her family. She has 4 sisters, and it's following all of them trying to get matches for the season, and her mom is a really funny character, and there's just so many characters in this book. We have Mr. Collins, Mr. Wickham, Mr. Darcy, and it is a romance, so I love that. It is a fun time, and this kind of is what invented, I'd say, the enemies to lovers trope that is now so popular in today's culture, and that's Jane Austen. She kind of invented that. There's a lot of good character growth in this story for our main character and for other characters in the story, and I think it's great. I just think it's such a good one that you shouldn't go your life without reading it. You should at least give it a shot, and I think you'll really be surprised at how much you might enjoy it. So that is Pride and Prejudice. This one is so beautiful. I love this story. This is such a fun story that is very much takes you on a ride with our main girl. We have Rose, and something happened, and now she's an orphan and she has to go live with her uncle, and there's like a maid at this uncle's house, and this actually takes place in America. So it's kind of like, I think it's Massachusetts or some place around there, but it's a really cool story that follows her and kind of what she does. It's a good like coming of age story of her growing up. She's 13 years old and just kind of finding her life and kind of finding who she is now that she is an orphan and that she's living with her uncle, and then all these cousins that she had no idea she had are now her friends, and she's kind of just adjusting and making friends and making new memories and having exciting adventures with these cousins. And I think it's just so beautiful, so wholesome. What they get up to in this book, there's so many fun moments and some very like interesting moments where I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Because there is kind of like some surprises and some things that were kind of like plot twists. This one I would say is probably one of the easiest ones to read. Like, this was so easy, I flew through it. I'll read to you the synopsis so you can get a little bit more better understanding what it's about. Left an orphan after her father's death, Rose Campbell is sent to live at the Ant Hill with her 6 aunts and 7 rowdy boy cousins. For someone who is used to a girls' boarding school, it all seems pretty overwhelming. Her guardian, Uncle Alec, makes her eat healthy things like oatmeal and makes her wear drab, sensible clothes. Will Rose ever get used to her uncle's crazy notions and all her noisy relatives? That's kind of the premise of this book, and that leads me into our next book. So basically it follows the A Cousins book. This is kind of like the sequel, I guess you could say. Yeah, it's very much a sequel. It's following Rose, and now she's 21, so it's a few years later. And this book is kind of like the romance book out of the two. And it's following kind of like a love triangle, but with the 2 oldest cousins from the 7 cousins in the first book. You have to remember that it was Victorian era, and it was a long time ago, and people did things differently back then. Who knows why? But I really did love this story, and I will tell you why. Regardless of all of that, this was still a really sweet book. It's obviously clean, and I loved how Rose grew as a character. Her growing up, now she's 21. I loved seeing her character growth, and I loved following her. And also there was some very crazy twists and turns in this book that I did not expect to see coming like at all, and I think that added another layer to it. But yes, I definitely think this would be a great duology to read, and I loved it. Even though it's very unconventional, very interesting premise, I think it was still a really beautiful story. Our main characters, Rose, and then we have Mac and Charlie, and those are like the 2 older cousins, and those are the 2 that are in the love triangle with her. But I obviously like their character growth and the things that they go through and different things that just happen in this book. I just love it. I think this would actually make a great classic book read aloud. I think there's some questions and different things that you could have discussions on and kind of talk about different things that were different in this time period and how things were done differently and kind of why and how that's changed from now. But I still think it is worth a read. I think it just poses a really good conversation and discussion for you to kind of think about it. And I think that's honestly what good classics do. They make you think. Both of these books are just so good and so near and dear to my heart. Regardless of what this book has, I still took it for what it was worth, and that is why they are both 5 stars. Honestly, you just have to read it to figure it out, but I love them so much. What Katy Did is a book that I read this year, and it is by Suzanne Coolidge. This is so beautiful. This is honestly a charming little tale about Katy and her siblings, and it's just so fun following her siblings around. And this honestly is such a cozy book. It gives me Mandy vibes. It gives me very much like the childhood wonder, and just kind of makes me feel like a kid again when I read the stories and the things that they get up to. And there's lots of good life lessons that Katy learns throughout this book. There's some twists and plot twists that I didn't know what was gonna happen, but it honestly made me love the book more, and the character arc that Katy went through was so good and so rewarding to see the ending and the outcome, and I just loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Like, there was no doubt about it. It's just such a charming little book, and I think this would be a great read aloud. So I'm gonna read you the synopsis. Katy has grand plans to be beautiful, kind, and ladylike one day, but now she has hair that is always tangled, bootlaces undone, a torn dress, and she doesn't care about being good. With a wild imagination and high spirits, she is always up to mischief, but there has never been a heroine as lovable as Katy. Then one day, a terrible accident happens, and it takes all her courage and hard-learned patience to keep her dreams alive. Even just from reading that again, like, yeah, I remember everything that happened because I just read this in March, I believe. Definitely pick this up. This is such a good one, and it's so short. If you want a good short classic book, then you should read this one. This is your book. This is your classic book. Middle grade, so good. So that's what Katy did. I hope that this helped you find some new classic book recommendations, and these are what helped me get into classics, so I hope that they help you as well. Let's stay connected on my social medias. I have my Fable, Goodreads, Bookstagram, and all my social medias linked in the description box so we can become besties. All of these books I shared today were clean books, and I have so many other book videos here where I share clean romance and different books like that, so if you want to go and watch those, I will have this video where I share 12 clean books that I have read within 3 months, and you can go watch that next.